Hello YouTube and welcome back. This is Nico and you're watching Dare to Game. Today our topic of discussion is The Elder Scrolls 6, Bethesda Game Studios' next game in their flagship series, and what features, focuses, or changes I think they need to implement in order for this game to be the great game that we all want. So let's dive on in. For starters, I will quickly touch on something that I know I personally find to be exceedingly important, and I know many others also do: release date. Personally, I think the wait between Skyrim and this game has already been far too long. As I have said in a previous video, waiting a decade or more between releases is unacceptable. And what's more, they haven't done it for the right reasons. Yes, large open world games like this do take time to do correctly. But as most gamers know, Bethesda has not been spending this time working on Elder Scrolls 6. They were already working on Fallout 4 when Skyrim was released. And they stated on many occasions after the full release of Fallout 4 and all of the DLCs that they had not yet started any work on the Elder Scrolls 6. So I really would like to stop hearing people say, I would rather wait 10 years and get a good game than get a bad one every year. That is not a valid argument here. For one thing, it doesn't take 10 years to make a good game. For example, The Witcher 3 only took 3.5 years to make, and that game is better than any Bethesda release has ever been. It looked better, performed better, and had a better story. And all of this with minimal bugs on release. For another thing, even if it did take that long to make a good game, that isn't what they're doing here. Or, at least I hope not. Since most sources agree that they have just started solid development this year, that would put the release date way too far out for reality. More likely we will see a game developed in Bethesda's general development cycle, which is about 3 to 4 years, so I estimate a release date of 2022 to 2023 at the earliest, especially when you consider many have said it is waiting for next gen. And we know that Starfield will be coming out first, and that hasn't even gotten a release date. So that does it for the griping. The rest of this video will be all sunshine and butterflies to try and appease the fanboys. Not really. But here are 5 things I think Bethesda needs to do to make Elder Scrolls 6 great. Number 1, better graphics, animations, and AI. Now for me, this is actually not of the utmost importance, but Bethesda does need a makeover, and I figure I would start here, because from what little we have seen so far, I think this is a likely area of focus for them. Not too long ago, they released some development footage showing character model building, where they demonstrate that they are evolving into the current decade as far as characters go. The main focus was notable Elder Scrolls community member Shirley Curry, otherwise known as the Skyrim Grandma, being immortalized as an NPC in Elder Scrolls 6. Which is a great move for Bethesda. I mean, I think Shirley would possibly rather be able to play the game before she sets sail into the West, but this is a super cool move by Bethesda either way. The video showed us what looks like a drastic improvement in character modeling, which hopefully will be bringing the visuals into a less out-of-date style and appearance, which I believe is a welcome change. In addition to this, I hope to see an even bigger emphasis on photorealistic environments and hopefully dynamic day and night as well as integrated weather systems, since that has become the standard for open world games like this in recent years. Lastly, for this section, we need to see drastic improvements in the artificial intelligence in the game, as we did from 3 to 4 and 4 to 5. One very annoying thing in Skyrim was how static NPC interactions were no matter what point in the game you were at, or how much your character had accomplished. It's really immersion breaking to be playing as the Chosen One, who has killed the dragons and saved the world, is the harbinger of the companions, in charge of the Dark Brotherhood, Thieves Guild, and College of Winterhold, not to mention while also being the Thane of every hold in the country, and then have a guard in some village ask you in a condescending way if someone stole your sweet roll. I would like to see improvements where the environment and those within it react and change, depending on your actions and the events of the world around them. For me, this is really essential and something that I need to see in Elder Scrolls 6. Number 2, map, size, and location. For me, location isn't really that big of a deal, just so long as it is large enough to make it seem, worth the wait, and I would prefer that it isn't in Elsewhere or Black March. I don't think it will be, just based on what we've seen, but yeah, just those are the 2 regions I would really not like the game to be in. Don't get me wrong, this isn't super important, but I really don't like Argonians or Khajiit, and I know I am in the minority there, but while they make good side characters or occasional appearances, I think it would get old way too fast, and I think Bethesda knows that. So honestly, I think the most likely setting, just based on the teaser, is High Rock. However, given the size of High Rock, I think that it is likely that it will not be only High Rock, but a combination of 2 or more provinces in Tamriel, likely High Rock and Hammerfell, or High Rock and parts of Skyrim and Hammerfell. In any case, as I've said, my preference to location isn't huge, just that it is at least comparable to Skyrim in size and scope. Where I would like to see improvements map-wise is variety and importance of entirety. What I mean by this, without getting too wild and out of hand, I would like to see a map that changes more from corner to corner. While there was a big difference between Solitude and the Reach in Skyrim, for example, much of what was in between was all bleak and all looked the same. So personally, I would like to see a bit more environmental variety. As far as my second point here goes, I also think that the entire map should be integrated into the story. What good is a giant map if you only use 10% of it for anything important? In both Skyrim and Fallout 4, the main storylines kept the player centered in just a few regions of the map, leaving much of the map left to side content and lone exploration, which is fine if handled well, but it makes it seem more like unnecessarily fluff and not real content. So I don't think it needs to be a giant map 10 times the size of Skyrim, just a decent sized map full of content. Number 3, less hand-holding. So for this third point, I think the best example to work with for what I mean is Kingdom Come Deliverance, a fantastic open-world medieval RPG that came out in 2018 and brought back many classic gaming themes that we haven't seen for a while in games like this. The key change here was to less guided experience, which makes everything you do feel that much more rewarding. For example, when playing recent Bethesda games like Skyrim and Fallout 4, not only is the quest or mission description so simple a dog could follow it, but they literally just pop a marker right on your exact objective. To make this point once, I played an entire playthrough of Skyrim by skipping every dialogue option and never using my quest log. I just went from marker to marker, start to finish. Let me tell you, it was not very fun, believe it or not. The phrase mind-numbing comes to mind. If I wanted to sit down and play video games that make me drool from boredom, I would play Battle Royale games. However, Kingdom Come Deliverance really dialed it back. And while they do offer decent descriptions in quest logs, and also map markers, they are never exact, and almost always require some investigation or exploration. The system also felt very well balanced. With this point, I would also like to touch on fast travel. Now, I personally do not agree with some gamers about fast travel who believe that it shouldn't exist at all. Hard pass on that one. But I do think that Bethesda has gone a bit overboard with recent games, essentially letting you fast travel from any point in the map to any point in the map. That's too much, and it often really cheapens the experience of exploring and completing quests. In contrast, you have a game like The Witcher 3, where you can only travel to a few signposts across the map, and only from signposts. This works, but I think it is a bit too restrictive. Again, I look to Kingdom Come Deliverance for the perfect balance here. This game has fast travel points in every major settlement that you can travel to from any point in the game. This way, if you are lost, you can fast travel your way out, but not to the exact point you may be heading. This in turn encourages physical travel. I also really like that in KCD, you can get pulled out of fast travel because your character is actually physically traveling from point A to point B, and it isn't just teleportation. I think Elder Scrolls 6 would be far more immersive if they went with this form of fast travel. Number 4, optional co-op, not multiplayer. Recently, I made a video talking about the several reasons that I think will likely contribute to the Elder Scrolls 6 being a letdown to gamers. In there, I made a flat statement that we do not want multiplayer, and we want a single-player only game. There were a handful of people who were like, no, we want always online MMOs, Badurkadur 10.4, and to those people I say, piss off. And if you like MMOs so much, just keep playing ESO. Don't get me wrong, after making that video and seeing a lot of people point out how ESO wasn't that bad, I looked into it more, and yes, I do think it is much better now than when it was launched. I played it back then, and thought it was trash. All this being said, I still don't really like it for one reason. It is a cookie-cutter MMO, and despite playing better than many other MMOs, it is still just an MMO. And there is a reason a great deal of gamers don't like it. And that's just because we enjoy the single-player experience. And we are used to this with this franchise. But, and here comes the big but, I do agree with most of the commenters on that video that I would love an optional co-op game mode, either in the form of local split screen or drop-in online co-op. I agree that the option to do some buddy team-ups and shared adventures can be fun, so long as it doesn't manipulate the project as a whole to do it. I think that multiplayer in the form of optional co-op is a great idea, and its implementation would greatly benefit The Elder Scrolls 6, just so long as it is completely aside from the core experience in the way that it doesn't punish players who would rather go it alone. Lastly, for number 5, they need to release a comprehensive modding kit for the game at launch. Yes, modding is quite possibly the most important factor in Bethesda's success for The Elder Scrolls 6. Like previous titles, it is almost certainly going to come down to mods to save this game. I mean, we all hope that Bethesda will release their first ever perfect game at release, but it's likely that for most of us, at least those of us on PC, that mods and the modders themselves will be our true saviors. There have been rumors that there will only be support for mods exclusively on Bethesda.net, and just based on the fact that I don't like the exclusivity of distribution for anything, I hope this is not the case. I do actually really like first-party modding services like Steam Mods and Bethesda.net, for one reason, that being ease of use. When you are literally downloading the mod for the game on that game's launcher, it almost never has compatibility problems, or is installed incorrectly, at least for me. So I support mods on Bethesda.net. But I also prefer if I can still get my trusty Nexus mods. But in the end, no matter where I can get my mods, I need to be able to get them early. One of my favorite gaming releases of the last few years is Kingdom Come Deliverance. And unfortunately, the devs over at Warhorse have opted to wait until over a year after launch to release the modding toolkit. And this is a huge mistake. Although I am still hopeful that some talented modders will be interested when the tools are finally out, I think a large portion of the community has already moved on. This would be criminally negligent on Bethesda's part. And what would be worse would be Bethesda putting a stranglehold on mods and making us pay for them, like the Creation Club garbage, which I am actually very concerned about. So here, the key to success is easy. Just release a good toolkit early on, and let modders go to town. While there are many things that could make Elder Scrolls 6 a letdown, and I still think that that outcome is pretty likely. These 5 things are, at least in my opinion, almost a guaranteed blueprint for success with this game. So, I think if Bethesda hits all of these objectives, Elder Scrolls 6 could be the best game in the series so far. Also, it should go without saying, but it is also essential that there aren't any microtransactions in the game. No matter what, that would likely taint the entire experience and alienate fans for good. But that's my thoughts, so what are yours? Do you think it will be good? Do you think that it will suck? Did I forget to mention anything? What do you think is the most important thing they need to do? Why don't you go ahead and hit up the comment section down below and get the discussion going. Congratulations on making it to the end of the video. If you did, I can assume you liked the content, and hopefully you'll subscribe and turn on the notification bell. If you haven't already, check out these links I have on the screen to see me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. If you like my content and would like to support what I do here, there's a link to my Patreon account in the description, and a donation would be much appreciated. In any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day.